charge, and he didn't have to give me money, but his act of kindness
to
made me
each other
realize that there
with
are good
no
people in this world
expectation of
too.
something in return. In terms of
Practicing
being an
kindness is
artist,
also good for
my
mental health.
act of kindness is to
What we
share and
say
support
and do
other
has an
artists'
effect on
works
our brains
and
and
offer
how
words
it's
of
wired.
encouragement. During my 25-year-long lifetime, I quit music and returned to it after 8 long years. I thought that being independent and having my own source of income would help me serve the community and serve the poor. By God's grace, those thoughts came to me and I heard them. They told, they told me not to be selfish with my gift and instead to share it with the world. We all have some God given gifts within us. Let's bring them out into our lives and existence. People message me and tell me that my songs are healing and they find my voice and it brings them to tears. This is all God's gift that has been granted to me by His grace. I want to share my gift rather than restrict it and keep it to myself. Using our God given gifts, after all, are also an act of kindness. A person doesn't have to be privileged and be kind. When I was interning with an organization, I lost my mobile. I had gone on a field community visit. I had no clue where it was, and the first instance was for me to panic. The auto rickshaw driver, what he did was he took me to the nearby police station and he didn't even charge me a penny. That was his bread and butter for the day, but he didn't charge and he didn't have to give me money, but his act of kindness made me realize that there are good people in this world too. Practicing kindness is also good for mental health. What we say and do has an effect on our brains and how it's wired. We have the power to change the circuit board of our brain on a soft level. So, why not practice and experience kindness, especially towards our inner voices that are never silent and are always there by our side? Charles Glassman said, kindness begins with the understanding that we all struggle. Sometimes I have a battle between being kind and being right. There are times when I want to be heard and understood. So I make my point, even unfortunately at the cost of being rude. It's something I'm battling with and I'm working on. Kindness and forgiveness, after all, are interlinked. As I struggle with being kind and being right, words from a Taylor Swift song came to my mind. Never be so polite you forget your power. Never wield such power you forget to be polite. Being kind costs us nothing. So even as we undertake the task of navigating the not always easy journey of being kind, we can extend that very same kindness towards ourselves. It has taken a lot of practice, but I've now reached a point where I don't beat myself up for my mistakes. I instead learn from them and process ahead in life as an evolved human being. Start small. Kindness starts in your own house. We don't have to do big things to be kind or pay millions to help people. Support a friend who has just started a business. Check in with your driver or domestic helper and ask if they're okay and doing well. It all goes beyond paying them their salary. Schedule time and spend time with your family because you'll never get this time back. I read another book called Kindness Matters, recently released by UNESCO. It is a collection of inspiring real stories of kindness and courage. Starting from the very first story, the book relates how tiny acts of kindness create grand global transformations. Here, more than anywhere, the following proverb applies: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. We don't have the authority to decide who deserves kindness. There are a lot of lessons we can learn from nature. The sun, the trees, the very own air now, which is giving us a breeze. They don't differentiate. They share their gifts with everyone. There are no restrictions. They are available to everybody and share their benefits with us, irrespective of who is a good or a bad person. Like Llewellyn Vaughan Lee said, even as we deplete her, the earth, she continues to give and give. Her generosity is a lesson for us all. The best age group who can naturally, willfully, and intentionally spread kindness is the youth. You all. We have a well developed mind and a soft and tender heart. We are also more open and positive in our attitude. So, if acts of kindness alone change the world into a better place, We, the youth, are the best people to do it. Don't be swayed by peer pressure. Tune into your own frequency and uniqueness. Find your own calling. Celebrate your gifts, what makes you stand out. Don't follow the herd, be the shepherd. I happened to practice a heartfulness meditation with a wonderful soul and friend named Purnima, who is a heartfulness trainer. I felt an immediate sense of peace and quiet in my heart right after. I realized I hadn't given myself that 10 minutes of time. Half the time goes in scrolling my mobile or attending to calls. So I think forcefully giving myself that time really helped. Even this morning, it was so calming, just not talking to anybody, just tune into my own frequency helps so much. We could all practice one act of kindness every single day. Just one act. It doesn't matter if it's big or small. Today I've been kind by sharing my experiences with you. My only request is that you take this energy forward and share it with someone else. Thank you. Namaste.
Like to take some questions? If they ask me as a question. You want it? Okay. Okay. So, dear friends, this was Khatija Rahman for all of you, a very, very active social worker. And of course, she's herself a musician and composer. And does she really need to do the social work? Does she need? She does it, but she does it because her heart says that she wants to do something for the community. That's the beauty of her heart and that's the beauty of her willingness. So that is what Khatija Rahman is all about. She has flown all the way from Chennai just to attend this event and to be with all of you. Okay. Oh, also, she has missed a very big occasion that her cousin just had a baby today and she was not able to join that joyous occasion, but she came here to talk to all of you. So, a big round of applause to her. And please convey lots of love to A.R. Rahman ji on behalf of all our youth here. And yes, any questions from the youth? Maybe she can take one or two questions. Yes, quickly, सामने आके किसी को question पूछना है तो you can come and ask her a question. If we can just have a mic ready. Yes, you can come here near the control, any boy or girl. She's all ours today for some time. Yes, any question, you can raise up your hand otherwise. Yes? Okay, okay, okay. Okay. So that's it. So thank you so much, Khatija, for being here. Okay.
Hi, Khatija. In your talk, you referenced a lot of books and literature that you have gone through and perused to understand kindness. If you can just share what were some things that you remembered and something that were remarkable and stayed with you in terms of how to inculcate practice kindness in your life.
Honestly, those are books given to me by Purnima. There were a lot of stories, so I just picked very few. But I think instead of the books, I would use practical examples. As I said, I am struggling as well. It's not been easy because people tend to take me very, since I'm soft, they tend to take me for granted. So I'm still trying to establish my own boundary. So I think life, more than any book, teaches me a lot.
So, is there any incident or story from your life that you can share with us?
I think you all know the Taslima Nasreen controversy. So that's when I knew I had an inner voice. Honestly, I never expected to be amidst so many youth. I have huge stage fear, but thanks to you all for being kind to me and resonating with my speech. And I think if not for you all, I would not have come this way. I'm an introvert from school, would never take part in anything in school or college, but I think that controversy awakened something in me which I didn't even know I had. So it's just life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Khatija. Those were wonderful insights and lovely words. I'd like to request Dr. Nivedita and Aditya Varela to please felicitate you on the stage. Okay, now moving on, Rudra. Before we proceed to the next segment on the this morning agenda today, I have a question for you. Do you think you were born with kindness? Like, was it in your genes, or do you think it's something you've cultivated over a period of time?
I don't know about others. Well, I don't know about others, but I was definitely born the kindest person ever.
I don't know, maybe you do have my vote of confidence, but I am curious to find out, what the audience here feels. So I'm going to ask for a quick show of hands, okay? So for those of you who feel that you were born kind, just raise your hand, please.
Oh, it seems I got some fair competition here.
But not enough. So anyone who thinks you were born with kindness, you raise your hand. Up high. Little more energy, please. Great.
Oh, that's
And
a fair few.
how many of you feel, no, we were not really born with kindness? We've cultivated it over the years. Wow, so a lot of us feel life is a very forgiving process. Well, to find out more about that, we have a very interesting panel for you. Let's get on to the next segment with the science of kindness. Can I request the chairs to be arranged, please, as I call out to the guests? Guys, pick up the chairs.
Should we just do it ourselves? Is it working?
Sure. So while we are having Okay, I apologize, everybody. We have a few management games until the setup is done. Requesting our superheroes on the right to please come onto the stage very quickly, please.
Awesome. Let's get started.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I'm not able to hear you. Hello everyone. So I'm Kritika Kadam from PIMSA, that is Pillars Institute of Management Studies and Research. It is in Panvel, New Panvel, Mumbai. So we are here to organize a management event like management games and few of the interesting games for you. So the very first game which I'll introduce to you is opposite orders. That means you all have to play this. I'll give you the orders and what you have to do is you have to do it in the opposite way. So if I say right, you have to raise your left hand. If I say left, you have to raise your right hand. Okay, so this will show up your listening skills and your attention towards me and my words. Okay, ready? Volunteers ready? Okay, so let's start. Right. Right. left, stand, sit, sit, jump, jump, stand, jump, stand, sit, rotate left, turn right, turn right, turn left, left hand, right hand, turn front, turn front again, turn back, stand. Okay, thank you for this response. We'll move towards the next game, which will be introduced by Hannan. Thank you so much.
Okay, that seemed to have shaken up a lot of you. Now, proceeding to the very exciting panel on science of kindness, let's welcome Dr. Snehal Deshpande, developmental therapist, life coach, and women entrepreneur. She owns and leads SNE, an institution dedicated to improving the lives of children and their families. Joining her on stage is Dr. Pooja Sahni. She is the principal research scientist at IIT Delhi. We have with us Mr. Kwani Kir, project officer at the UNESCO MGIEP, activating and training youth around the world to encourage positive action and leadership. To moderate this session, I would like to invite on stage Dr. Ananta Durayappa, Director of Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development. I'd also like to call Shri Ved Vyas Kundu to join us on the stage, please, for this panel discussion.
I will give it to you. Fair enough. Or we can toss the mics. All right. I'm always amazed when we start talking about the really interesting issues nobody wants to listen. And they just come to listen to politicians and others. I wonder why. See, everybody is walking around, doing all their stuff. I'm just being a bit provocative. All right. Everybody talked a lot about kindness today in the morning. I was really fascinated with the last speaker, who went a little bit more into what it was all about. Because the problem is people use the word so flippantly. Kindness, as I mentioned, was an inert nature of humans. But unfortunately, we forget very quickly once we start growing up and get into the system of what we call humanity. I always say that we are born, or we are by nature kind, but we have been so intelligent that we have set up systems to make us unkind. And so we need to work at it. So I have today a panel, interesting panel. I'm not going to allow them to say just what they want to say, but we're going to have a dialogue. We're going to debate. We're going to sort of say kindness is not easy. I find it very difficult to be kind. Because the first thing that I get, my first reaction is one of fight or flight or freeze. How do we change the 3 F's into one, which is the K? That's what our challenge today is. And how do we get that into our school systems? Because the schools is where our kids spend most of the time. And I still believe that schools are the main culprit that creates unkind individuals, because we have a system where we pit each other against, it's against you, against me. The way exams are established is about beating the other person rather than about yourself. What's wrong if you say, I improved? Isn't that what matters? Rather than saying, who's the top guy and I have complete... It's a never winning game. There's always somebody going to be better than you. So how do we change that? And that's the challenge I'm going to throw to my colleagues here. So, the first, let me introduce them, or let me give the only opportunity that they can speak what they want to say is introducing themselves and a little bit about themselves. Not about your work, but just a little bit about yourselves. What is your passion and what you aspire? So let me start off. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I am Veda Vyas. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am Veda Vyas Kundu, and I am working with Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. And my passion is to work with young people all across, not just nationally but internationally. And the whole idea is we can promote a healthy communication ecosystem. I'm a person from the field of communication, so my passion is to promote non-violent communication ecosystems with all the stakeholders I work with. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, so I am Pooja Sahani and I am working with IIT Delhi. Sorry, I had to, kind of use that heavy weight. Okay, so, I'm really passionate about youth, really, children. And if you will actually see my career trajectory, it didn't start that way. I'm really, so coming from an environmental scientist background, so I have now working on how the brain responds to environment and how, nature empathy as a construct can exist. Some of us would actually, would like to believe that it exists at one end of the psychiatric spectrum. But believe me, kindness to nature is something which, as Ananta would like to put it, is inherent in children. And I'm really looking forward to working with institutions like Heartfulness Institute and UNESCO MGIP in rethinking education, in making it more inclusive of social emotional learning concepts. Yeah, thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Kwani. I'm originally from South Sudan, but I'm a global citizen, and that was my boss. Still partly my boss, but now I work for UNESCO in Iraq office. I am passionate about affecting change, whichever way you can define change. I just want to make things better, whatever that might be, and education, specifically education and working with young people is my focus, and teachers. I did not have good teachers when I was in school, and so I have been trying to see if I can improve teaching or the profession of teaching. Thank you very much.
A very good afternoon. To introduce myself, I'm Snehal Deshpande. I'm also known as the baby whisperer. I love babies, and my passion is working with babies, working with relationships, and creating a change. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we have a neuroscientist. We have, how would you describe yourself? You're the only one who does.
Passionate to promote non-violent communication. I'm a communicator by heart.
Communicator by heart. Non-violence by nature, okay. Neuroscientist.
The in-between guy.
Troublemaker. And a baby whisperer. Okay. All right, let me start with the baby whisperer because that's where we start with, the toddlers. And there's fascinating research where they have shown again and again, irrespective of culture or context, because that has been taken out, where children are kind by nature. The famous, the one that I was in Kyoto, so Japan, they've done the same thing. They've done it in the US with babies and toddlers. So let me focus our discussion today on competencies. So let's get really focused because what I would like to get out of this discussion is 3 or 4 competencies that starting from the toddlers to K-12 to maybe higher school on what our education system should. So how would you prepare with the toddlers, or what would you not want to do with toddlers because they're already kind by nature?
I would love to narrate a story as I like to tell stories. And today morning we saw weddings happening, right? So one of the girls post her marriage, post few months, went to her mother's house and she started cribbing. My mother-in-law is this, my father-in-law is this, I'm feeling claustrophobic. And the mother kept listening to her and kept a hot pot on the gas stove. And the first thing what she put in one of the vessels was a carrot. And the moment she put a carrot, it just melted away. In the second pot, she put an egg. And egg after boiling became hard. And then the girl was going on and she was observing what the mother was doing. In the third pot, the mother put a teaspoon of coffee. And yes, my friends, coffee gave its fragrance. Coffee blended with the water. Now this blending, and then the girl realized what the mother was trying to tell her. But will that blending come at the age where she was, or does it start very early? When I, as a developmental therapist, or anyone who is involved in ECE, the early childhood education, we are all known as the brain keepers. You know, the hands around the brain, because the first 5 years are completely brain development. And it is, you have roads around which are concretized, just getting concretized, the cement is being laid, and then you have to put something around it so that no one stamps on it. So the kids are like that. The first day in school, you find them so bewildered, they're confused, they're crying. So the first competency is, I feel, cooperation with the self. Cooperation with the self, and that means self-regulation. So Stuart Shankar from Canada has done enormous research in the field of self-regulation and babies. Then, parents who come to me, recently we had collaborated with a school for sports, and all the parents wanted the little one to excel, badminton, etc., etc. But that word excel, so prepare to excel, we should prepare the child to care. Care for someone else who is there. They're already caring, but to enhance that caring by preparing them not to excel, but to care is the second competency, that's the second C. The third C, which I look at, which is very much required as a sensory integration therapist. The second C is prepare to care. The third competency as a sensory integration therapist, which I look And many parents don't know his children develop with their senses. First being the biggest sense, that's your skin, the tactile. Going on to proprioception, that's your muscles, your movement, that's vestibular, auditory, vision. And parents don't know that the primary competency a child should have is creatively use these senses to play. They don't know. Many parents will come, oh, play. Oh, yes. And then they give their mobile. So creativity is another competency which I would like to enhance. And definitely,
I'm going to be rude. You only get a chance for one competency, but you already gave you 3.
okay.
What I want to continue with the toddler. So we've heard about self-regulation, which I guess would be emotion regulation, similar. Okay.
Emotional regulation, adaptability.
Okay, so care and stuff. Now with the new NEP, where they started out with 5-4-4-3, which means they're going down to your age group. My going to be for all is, will the new NEP mess up the child who already in the previous had this sense of freedom and play? Now with the new education policy starting at the age of 3, I think 3 because it's 5, will there be a creep of the competition, preparing them for the work sector, preparing them for maths, preparing them for science? What will the implications be? What should we not do, or what we should put into the NEP when you're going down to the 3? Let me start with.
You are absolutely right. I'm really concerned of education going down to the level of 3 years of age, especially with the government giving mandate of numeracy and literacy as foremost running pillars. The educators need to work on with that age group. Having said that, as an educator, I think we need a whole paradigm shift if at all we need to reach to the level of 3 years to 5 years or 6 years. We cannot, we need to be mindful of not, decultivating their inherent qualities. And I totally believe that, when a child is born as an infant, he's actually a perfect system. He's a perfect, system which has all the, qualities to thrive, flourish in the society. But we as educators, unfortunately, kind of, work as demons in his learning. So, if at all the education has to, reach to that young age, it has to remodel itself from just laying its stress on numeracy and literacy to whole lot of playful and experiential ways of learning. They need to be there with nature. Yesterday I went to this school called Heartfulness Learning Center, and I was totally floored by the ways the pedagogical innovations they are, making with that age group, making them live the life of a 3. That's what we need to, as educator, be very mindful of, rather than translating our aspirations onto that level.
All right. I'm going to only allow you guys 2 minutes, Meg, but should we then sort of let them play, because there's been a lot of experience in the Scandinavian countries on how play plays a huge role in this. So would you suggest as a pedagogy play?
Yes, absolutely. Experiential learning, play-based learning, and a free play is what they need at that age.
Okay, so I see Kwani as usual shaking his head, which means the troublemaker is coming in. Kwani, disagree.
No. I'm sorry to disagree, not for the sake of it, but I think we should leave kids alone for the first 5, I would even go to 6 years. Just leave them alone, let them be. Let them wake up, let them play with their friends, let them eat, let them sleep. Just leave them alone. Education in any form is a form of indoctrination.
You mentioned the word let them play.
Yes, but don't structure the play. When you structure the play, it becomes education. Yeah, just let them play naturally. Yeah, don't structure it, unsupervised, unstructured play.
So here's the dilemma. Unfortunately, the way society has evolved is that the whole notion of having one parent stay at home with a child is no longer an option. It's a luxury. So in many ways, school has evolved to fit the economic system. So assuming that we can't change that for the next 50 years or so, how would you advocate, let the kid, so unstructured play is what you're suggesting. So let us tease that a bit. But in a structured or institutional structure, because the fact is the parents are not there. In many ways, I also say, if you have unstructured play and leaving the kids with the parents, unfortunately, those parents who are going to take an interest, those kids have an advantage over other parents who don't. And Daniel Mokovitz in his great book, in terms of the meritocracy trap, talks about this and how those initial conditions are so different that it creates an unlevel playing field. So how can we structure an unstructured play?
After
that, I'll come to you.
No, that's a very good question. Now, I would use an example. When I was doing my graduate degree, I would coach kids part-time. Now, my observation, and of course I've not done research in this area, but my observation was sports, like any form of sports, be they team, be they individual, but mostly team sports like football, like basketball, like tennis. That's one. The other one is, artistic expression, like drawing, painting. These have the inherent capability of not being structured. You cannot structure a football game very much as only just rules, basic rules and play.
But here's my problem with
artistic
those.
Expression too.
This is my problem with when you see soccer and even games like tennis. When you see the competition element comes in. So I will talk about my favorite because I'm a bit biased. I do kendo, which is Japanese fencing, which is very individualistic. But when we score a point, what we have to do is we go and bow to the other person and say, thank you for teaching me because I could not have got the point without you. And I remember once, this was the World Championships, and the person in the final went, when they hit the point, went this way, which you see in football, you see in soccer, you see in tennis especially and stuff. He was disqualified because the spirit was violated. How do we get that into this unstructured? I will let. Can I call you Veda? It's grand, isn't it, Veda? So I'll call Mr. Veda to tell a little bit about how we would do that.
Well, I think that's a bit of a challenge, of course, because the environment that we are there, it is not an enabling environment. There is a deficit of egalitarianism, and there is relative deprivation when we are talking about the whole system. Because, say, as you just pointed out, that parents who take interest, then with these children, they have a better level playing situation. Also, when we are talking of the enabling environment in the home, in the society they are living in, so those kind of complex issues that are there, and when we are talking of trying to have some kind of a marry between the structured and the unstructured way, because at the end of the day, my own experience suggests when we start with the unstructured situation, the whole element of competition starts creeping in. Like many times we organize these programs in Gandhi Smriti, and we want that there should not be any competition. It should not have those kind of things like who wins and who. It should be all, individual potentiality, human potentiality coming in. But at some stage or the other, we find we get into that trap.
Did you by any chance read the IC report?
I had a glance to it.
Because you used the term potentiality. And one of the things that came out from a 3-year report with 300 scientists is to move from merits to potentiality. Potentiality is individual, merits is against the others.
Absolutely.
But now you introduce the concept of parents. And this question is both to Pooja as well as Dr. Snehal. Parents. That's one of the biggest problems. Now, there is no requirement to become a parent other than just mad lust, all right? So you produce a child. Now, should we have conditions that before you have a child, you need to have certain competencies? I as a parent after 3 children, I feel that I should have been imposed that because I did so much damage to the kids because it's a whole learning experience. So should we start with parents because they play such a big role in terms of building these competencies? So I want to now go into post the toddler into to the next age group, or rather not next, but flying up to the old. What are the competencies that are required to be a parent?
So absolutely, you've actually hit the nail on its head, because today the challenge is not with the kids, I would say, or not with the teachers. We have several programs of teacher training, or and children anyways are beautiful souls. So it's the parents' aspirations which is corrupting the whole education system. And I, being engineer by training, I often have a kind of laughed with my friends, engineer friends, that to become an engineer and design on single machine, we are put through a rigorous training, I would say, of 4 years just to design a machine or probably build a bridge. And if I were to produce a machine called child, who's like the perfect system that can exist, I'm hardly trained with any tools or techniques. So yes, we totally are failing as a system to train or bring about those competencies which is required to become a mother or a father. And if I were to nail, one single competency which is required to, be a mother, which actually, is, I think, not natural, no more natural, because I see so many mothers. Anyways, that's a separate topic in altogether. But then, is, to be, to let them be. Let the child be what he is, to be kind to your child, It's very easier said than done that it's natural for a mother to be kind to the child, but when it comes to the schooling or education, you will see that, parents have far more aspiration than the child himself. So that's one thing we need to,
in terms of, if I ask you for one competency of a parent, what would that be?
Yeah, be kind to your child.
But to be kind, you need more fundamental competencies. As a neuroscientist,
yes,
tell me those foundational,
yes.
One.
Yes, so yes, I mean there are a whole plethora of competencies which are required to be kind. It's important to actually be able to feel. It's actually important to be in the child's shoes and see the world through his eyes.
So, emotion recognition, emotion regulation?
Emotion regulation from the parents is a basic requirement of any individual, right?
Well, most of us are not trained in that.
We are not trained in that. We are not trained in that.
I'm angry, but for me to recognize I'm angry, understand I'm angry, and also to accept I'm angry is okay too.
Yes.
But those qualities are so difficult. So
yes.
So emotion regulation back again.
Yes.
Dr. Snell is with her hands in her pants, so please go ahead.
So I encounter parents who come to me every single day with, especially post-pandemic, there has been a reign of autism and ADHD kids who are coming to us. And the first thing and my second half here in Heartfulness Institute is that we run programs for parents to make them understand how to create that environment within themselves first, then into the child. So there, again, research says, and I was reading a paper where stress in the mothers gives rise to corticocerebral issues in the brain of the children. And recently, one of the journalist mothers got her child, and she's saying, he doesn't like sound, he just keeps. I said, what were you doing during your pregnancy? Oh, I was on my meetings. I said, how was the volume of your... I always, you know how I am. So the impact of what the mother does and how she feels during, even when the first, and that's what research again says, that when conception has happened, that's where the development and learning begins. So if the parents are, and especially the youth, are made aware that when you're thinking of conception, creating the right attitude, creating the right environment around yourself is so much essential. The second competency which I would like to stress is engagement, eye contact. Many parents don't understand that eye contact is extremely vital to develop empathy. There is a complete organization which goes around this roots of empathy. Empathy comes when you say and look at the person and connect. So this engagement, mothers don't know. The moment the child comes into the hand, the moment you start connecting and saying, yes, I'm there for you, I'm there for you, and entraining with the child, that's the third competency, entrainment with the baby, extremely important.
So in many ways you're talking in terms of empathy, in terms of understanding the baby from a perspective. So guys, all the young ones out there, it's just not about producing a baby. There's a lot more work to be done. And it's not just for the mothers,
it's for
the fathers as well. It doesn't let you off the hook. You're as important into the whole equation, isn't it? Now, I had a question for Kwani, but I think it's just gone off my head, but I'll come back to that. So we are moved into empathy, right? Now, so the kids here are primarily in the 18. Then we talked about the toddlers. Now there's this in-between age, which is the most, what they call the troubled the teens, the risk takers, the ones that do irrational things just for the sake of irrationality and stuff. You can't go from the toddlers and then to the parents because you got this whole journey here. What are the things that we need to put into school once they go past that 3 or once they get into the 5? Continue with the training, how do you, and then understand the system that we live right now and how you want to address that.
So I'll just facilitate that with the recent research that we did with, age groups 5 till 15 years of age. And it was a neuroscience-based research, not a survey-based research. And, we studied actually the neuronal firing of, while they were given stimuli of affective pitches. The outcomes were interesting, but also very, very concerning. And kind of partly also holds true that, the kindness, compassion, and empathy are inherent, because what we saw in the younger age group was that there was a lot of neuronal firing when effective images were shown, either negative or positive, which over the time, by the age, let's say 16 or 15 or 16 or 17, when they reach, their effective system somehow, stops to respond. it's very strange. It's very strange because the same stimuli when given to a 5 or 6 year old and when the same stimuli is given to a 15 or 16-year-olds, more of your cognitive brain, which is like the PFCs, are matured by the education system, which takes over the limbic system. It's not that, what we also realized, although the tools were limited, was a limitation that we could not look into the brain.
Can you just tell them a little bit about the difference between the limbic and the cortex?
Yes, yes. So the limbic system is where, from where our emotions arise, right? The way we feel, the instinctive responses is what our limbic system is responsible for in our brains. Whereas prefrontal cortex, which is situated more towards the forebrain side, is responsible for more cognitive thinking, intellectual thinking, more, shaded by what we have been taught, what we have learned over the years. So somehow this 15, 16 year of age, what we saw in our, research was that they are suppressing their limbic responses, and the more trained and educated responses were overpowering that limbic system. So coming back to Ananta, your question, what are the interventions, what are the programs which need to mainstreams in the education, is basically focusing to strengthen our limbic system to work in tandem with the prefrontal cortex. And gone are the days when people used to think, अरे emotional है, इसको emotional वाली चीज को side पे रख और थोड़ा पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दे. No, there are research. In fact, a recent research in 2022 published in Nature says that the more your limbic system is connected with PFCs, more it can predict your being successful in your careers. So no more is, there a disconnect between what you are emotionally and what you are intellectually.
So take away, we got to train the limbic, because correct me if I'm wrong, the way the maturation is, the limbic gets the first, the frontal cortex comes later.
Yes.
But the problem is we are focusing on something which is later. You got to train the emotion part. So that's what. Now, Mr. Vedas, media, one of the biggest problems we face today. And here we have the school system training, doing all the stuff, but 80% of the time the kids are on media. I'm not saying I'm not against social media, but how do we navigate this field where very soon in the future we will be in the metaverse, right? This whole notion of physical is going to disappear, and we are going to have a bigger challenge of navigating from the physical to the meta, back, forth, and stuff. How do you?
Well, I've done a lot of work in this area, and that is to promote media and digital literacy, and how we can use the tools and strategies of media literacy education to promote peace orientation amongst young people. In fact, my own PhD thesis was focusing on media literacy amongst young people to promote peace orientation. As you have pointed out on the issue of the metaverse we are reaching, I am working with this research scholar who is doing his PhD in Germany on the use of artificial intelligence and non-violent communication. In fact, I've written several academic papers on the importance of ethics in this age of artificial intelligence. In this context, when we are trying to bring together the whole idea of media and digital literacy, media literacy, information literacy, digital literacy, UNESCO has done a lot of work on that, on how we can use some of these tools.
I'm going to provoke you a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Because I think you only see half the coin. Because following up on Dr. Pooja and Dr. Snell is the link. So when you say UNESCO's work, I think they're focused completely on the knowledge, on academic, media literacy and stuff. But the emotions play such a big role. And if you don't train the emotion, which means train the limbic, all this goes in 1 year and comes out in another year because it's purely academic. So I will let you respond to that quickly, then I will get all three to respond, and then I'll give the final word to the young person in the by age, of course, not by thoughts. because they are all young by thoughts. But I'll give the final to the young person, biological young person, to say his last bit. So counter mine, and then I'll follow up with the rest. 1 minute each.
Yes, I will just give you an example of the exercise that we do here. Like when we are talking of media literacy, it's not just academic one. Here we say, for instance, with a group of students, we show them, say, a whole program of Ninja Turtles, which is very violent in nature. We ask them, okay, think of yourself as Ninja Gandhi and how you come out of that particular situation without hurting anyone. So there, simulation exercises that we are talking about. So interesting, innovative simulation exercises, of course, coupled with issues of, emotional regulation.
So you have introduced perspective taking, if I'm not saying.
Yes.
And empathy in many ways.
Yes.
So those are the key words, guys. Empathy, perspective taking, go to the net, read it, practice it. Pooja?
Okay, so I have a little different take of media, Ananta, honestly. I mean, in the sense media, so today the way education is seen is what is being actually reported in media as well, right? On my way coming here, I was, when I was traveling from my place to the airport, I saw lots of big billboards because it's admission time, publicizing that, their students, their pass outs have gone ahead and, secured this much package, 1.5 CR or, this CR. So whole impact of education is actually seen in a very, very limited scope, which is the package, they are getting. Whereas, as rightly said, we as human beings are not only the package we are getting, but we are our cognitive and emotional self. Where is that getting, assessed, or where is the impact of that self getting metered or, being seen in the institution? Lately in IIT Delhi, we were actually looking at how our alumni, are faring in, I know we are limited by time, but this is an example worth sharing because so-called IITs are premier institutes of the country, and if, a change is not driven there, how can we expect other colleges to follow? But the impact metrics we are talking here now is of social impact. We are no more, evaluating or looking at our alumni who've earned, laurels because of their posting in reputed companies, but we are looking at what have they actually brought to the society, back to the society. So social impact is something which we are looking at. And this would not only require the intellectual capacities or the intellectual capabilities, it would require a person as a whole, the emotional person as a whole. And I think once we have that social impact and, there with the media right in place, it's going to drive the change backwards.
Okay, thank you. So again, I think if I can take a lot of that emotional training has to be built to handle this onslaught of information and stuff. Dr. Sneh?
So, according to the American Academy of Pediatricians, children should not be exposed to media up to the age of 5 years, simply because when one looks at the screen, the connections of the brain which need to be triggered don't form connections. It is just there. So the children who come to me exactly talk like Peppa Pig. They imitate Peppa Pig. They imitate Cocomelon. And I'm like, what? So the human connect, and that's the heart, which is the best instrument which we have for empathy, needs to be used in the first 5 years of life.
But can't we do the limbic training through media as well at that age? Because to say that kids will not be able to is impossible. And from the literature, there's two schools. The medical school is anti, but the pedagogical school is not there yet. They're sort of saying there are lots of opportunities. So we are in the metaverse, and to say that not to have the 5-year-old in the metaverse when the parents are all in the metaverse, it seems to be, I think, a bit dinosaurical.
So exactly, coming back to the person who's responsible for this is the caregivers, the parents and the grandparents around need to limit their time with their gadgets.
Okay, so limit. Just to say, there's not a consensus among the academic community on this. But we will stop at that. Kwani, you have the last say on this, plus from the youth.
Okay, so I have 3 points to make. Point number 1 is that schools or the education system is a system of indoctrination. So education and schools are systems and centers of indoctrination. That's a fact. And so as much as possible, we should try and prevent kids from joining them, especially when they're very young.
So don't send them to school, is what Kwani is saying.
No,
Okay,
especially
point.
when they're very young. Now, when they go to school, I would want schools to be restructured, the entire education system to be structured such that it allows for them to continue to grow emotionally as people, first and foremost. And I think it's a fact now, it's not a debate anymore, that emotions affect decision making with regards to anything you will do in life. So learning to manage them should be a prerequisite all throughout the education system. And then number 2, criticality. There's a lot of nonsense out there on the media, with schools, with parents, with professors, and so on. There's too much of it. You have to train kids too, bit by bit, to be critical, to question and doubt everything as much as possible, whatever or whichever that information might be coming from. Parents, professors, media, and so on, their government precisely as well. Question and doubt everything. And then finally, schools should be able to allow kids to engage with the world. And that is to connect with people, to join hands, and to change things. If you don't like something, just put your hands together with your friends and change it. Schools should be able to build that capacity. Regardless of whether you become a computer scientist, a doctor, I don't really care. These things should be fundamental. They're basics.
Okay, thank you. I got marching orders from the back to stop this engagement. I think key takeaways that the limbic or the emotional part has to be trained right from the start. It is where the first maturation happens. For the young people out there, take care of your kids right before, at the time of conception, right till you let them out of the door at the age of, apparently now it's becoming even 30, they're still staying with us. So till they leave, competencies, self-regulation, care for others, I guess that's empathy, perspective taking, understanding the other. One is criticality, learning to learn, learning to think. I think it's so important. I think the school system has not or has forgotten to teach us how to think. And just take what we have been given. We have computers to do that these days. And then the whole notion of engagement with others and other living beings as well. Not just humans, but other living beings. I want to thank my panel for bearing with me, and I hope you enjoyed it as I did. And thank you very much for staying here because you didn't go for lunch. Thank you.
A big round of applause for Mr. Kwani Ki, Dr. Snehal Deshpande, Mr. Vedavyas Kundu, Dr. Pooja Sani, and Dr. Ananta Durayappa. I would now like to call upon Ramesh Krishnan and Ananya Rao to felicitate our panelists. So we would now like to take a short break and have a round of management games.
The mic.
Hello, check.
So guys, I'm Roshan from PIMSA, that's Pillai Institute of Management Studies and Research. So we are going to do this some engagement session through music. I'm just going to sing few taglines and you guys have to repeat or complete the tagline. So for a sample round, we can do this. Everyone knows this song? East or West, India is the best. Everyone knows this song? Raise your hands if you know this song. So if I say East or West, you are going to sing? Yes. So let's do it 3-4 times, then we'll get a warm up like a thing. East or West? East or West? So for the next thing, I just want you guys to stand up on your place, and I just want you to clap 2 times and stamp your feet 1 time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. In sync. 1, 2. In sync. 1. I'll do it. You just see me. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. We More energy, guys, come on! We will. So, thank you. Thanks for that. The last one, everyone has seen the movie Chak De India. We'll sing the title song together. I just need your support. We'll sing the title song together. कुछ करिए नश नस मेरी खोले अब कुछ करिए बस बड़ा बोले अब कुछ करिए डूबे चढ़िए या मरिए करिए अब कुछ करिए डूबे चढ़िए या मरिए करिए अब कुछ चक दे इंडिया एवरीवन चक दे इंडिया Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kedarnath Jadhav. I am from PIMSR, like my fellow colleagues who came up here and, welcomed you to the management games. And we'll be filling in once again. So this game is called Apples, Oranges, and Bananas. So it's a pretty simple game. I know it's a task. I know you're all hungry. So, we will take up that hunger a little bit higher. I want you all to stand up. Boys and girls, please stand up and we'll play this game. It's a pretty simple game. It's an easy game. I need all of you to participate with me. So, the 3 fruits that I just mentioned, that is apple. When I say apple, you'll jump to your right. And my fellows standing behind me, my volunteers will show you how to do it. When I say apple, you'll jump to your right. And when I say oranges, you'll jump to your left. And when I say bananas, you'll clap. Okay? Let's give it a try. Okay? Apples. Bananas. Apples. Oranges. Bananas. Bananas. bananas, 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 apples, oranges, 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 apples, apples, bananas, oranges, apples, apples, oranges, bananas, 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 apples, oranges, oranges, orange, 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 apples, 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 bananas, 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 bananas. I think that's about it. Before we sit down, I want you all to give yourself a dozen bananas. Can we do that? Please have a seat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Moving on to the last session before the break, Story of You. Developing self-awareness and emotional intelligence can unlock your true potential. To elaborate more on this, I would now like to invite Dr. Meenu Tiwari, Professor, University of North Carolina, for an interactive session on increasing self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Dr. Tiwari works on a political economy of industrial development, small firms, and poverty alleviation. Over to you, Dr. Tiwari. Can we have a big round of applause for Dr. Tiwari?
Hello, everyone. Are you able to hear me clearly? Thank you so much. And my heart aches for you between lunch and now it's just me, so I'm so sorry to keep you sitting here when you're hungry and you've been sitting here all morning. So just a little bit longer. And it's just so wonderful to see so many young people with your bright smiles and all the enthusiasm here. It's a pleasure to be here. And we have been listening all morning about the importance of kindness and why we need it in our lives. We just heard a panel that may have inspired you about the rationale, the scientific rationale for kindness at multiple levels in our lives. But what does it mean for you in the story that you write for yourself every single day, by the way you live, by the way you interact, by the way you have aspirations and dreams, and what you do to fulfill them? What does it actually mean in practice? That's what we're going to talk about today in this session. And I hope it'll be an immersive session where we go through some exercises. So, you know, as several people have said this morning, and I really found it most clearly articulated in Khatija Rahman's talk, that we, and Daji spoke about it in the morning, that we sort of instinctively know what kindness to others is about and when others are kind to us. But then what does it really mean for us to be kind to myself? We've mentioned this kindness to oneself a lot. What does it actually mean? So what we want to do today is to look at the circumstances under which it's very hard to be kind to oneself or to anybody for that matter. When things are difficult, when we are telling ourselves, oh, things are not going my way, I'm such a failure maybe, I just can't do things right, I'll never get it. Look at everybody else, you know, they're doing so well and I'm stuck. Or you're in a job which you really don't like, you want to move somewhere else. So you feel or you tell yourself, oh, circumstances are stacked against me. And, you know, I mean, at that moment, you're in your head. You know, this idea of what it means to be kind to myself probably doesn't even arise. And the message that we want to deliver today, that I want to deliver today, is that especially at times like that, when things are hard and you feel it's not in my control, other people are doing these things, my circumstances are not okay, I really can't do anything about it. It's at that time that we will ask, what can I do for myself that will be evolutionary for me? Where I can take a moment and pause a little bit and maybe connect with myself like I would with my own beloved child, and say it's okay. It's okay to feel what I'm feeling, and then from that moment, do a practice that may make these mistakes that we make or these difficult times, times that we can learn from, sources of growth, which can make us better and better versions of ourselves. A little better today than I was yesterday. So that's the key message, that the world will come at me in many ways, perhaps, but what I feel inside about myself doesn't depend on somebody else's opinion or on my circumstances. It depends upon how I respond to those circumstances and to other people's opinions. So we take our power back. That's the message. And before we go there, I don't know whether we have slides. We had a few slides. We want to take a little moment to look at frames in our minds, the stories we tell ourselves. And to do that, let's jump into an exercise, an interactive exercise. You may want to write in your journal. So you will see, you know, I was going to do a little heart shake with you. That is, I was going to say, please close your eyes for a moment and connect with everybody else in the room. And then I thought, you've been sitting for so long that maybe we'll just get straight to the point. But before we do this exercise, I think it's really important for us to do that. So just I invite you to close your eyes very gently and softly and turn inwards towards your heart and center yourself there. And centered in your heart, connect with the hearts of all people in this room. Connect with each heart in this room. And just take that in. Allow that to sink in. That we are here together and connected. And when you open your eyes to come back into this room, bring your full presence to this session, to yourself. So with that, let us look at an exercise. So think about a mistake that you made recently. Something that you maybe said or did that you felt regret about later, that you wished you hadn't, or that made you feel uncomfortable. So you may close your eyes And just remember to the past week or 2 weeks, and think of a mistake that made you uncomfortable and regretful. And then think about what you said to yourself. What did you say to yourself? You may want to open your eyes and just write down, if you have a journal or a little piece of paper, you can write down for yourself. Otherwise, you can just keep it in mind. So I'll give you just a few moments to write down what you said to yourself. So I'm guessing, if you're like me, and like many of us, that we were pretty on ourselves. When I made a mistake, I messed up. So I need to suffer is often the way we think. And there are sort of 3 general categories in which our responses fall. So I'll name each and then see if yours fitted in these. The first is that we blame ourselves. I'm such a loser, such a bad person. When will I ever learn? Why do I always do that? I'm such a fake. You know, we label ourselves, we judge ourselves, we criticize ourselves. So if the response that came to mind when you thought about your mistake fell into this category, please raise your hand. And you can be frank about it. We are all here together. I see several people have raised their hands. Or then we blame others. They made us do that. They're so mean. They were so arrogant. I really can't stand it anymore. And who do they think they are? They really let me down and made me so angry. So if this was the category of your response, which is very common, then raise your hand. So I see some hands raised. Thank you for that. And then finally, we can become defensive, make excuses, blame our circumstances. I never got the support I needed. They never really understood me. They really deserved it. So if this was the category, then please raise your hand. And sometimes we do all 3, right? So what's the point of this exercise? The point of this exercise is how we frame things. The stories we tell ourselves will determine what we do about them. And so the habitual frames that we operate under are pretty toxic and familiar to all of us. Constant judgment, evaluation, good, bad, this is good, that is bad, right, wrong, this is right, that is wrong. Playing by the rule book. Oh, these are rules, so I had to do what I was told to do. As somebody said, well, how do you be authentic when rule books are thrown at you? So there is that. Then there is comparison culture. We compare ourselves. And there is what we call the hustle culture, that under all circumstances, I have to move ahead. And moving ahead means some accomplishment that society deems as important validation. So we look for external validation. So all of these things, when we try to act in our daily lives and often mess up, make us feel guilty. We often feel shame. We can feel angry about it also. And somehow it disintegrates us. I can never get it right. I can never get it right. It's just so tough to get it right because there's all this evaluation of which we are also a part. And so then we may fall into depression, feel hopeless, and the energies that we feel are so heavy in our hearts, on our hearts, in our hearts. They're toxic. And when we are feeling toxicity inside and heaviness inside, how can we have joy and happiness and be carefree? You know, we are always trying to fit in. And the point is that nobody's perfect. Only God is, and those in the graveyard are perfect. So all our lives, we will be making mistakes. And Daji also says that the more we are involved in our inner complexity or disintegration, the less we can integrate with the real goal of life. So we feel we are falling behind all the time. So is there another way? Another way of being that is simple, that we can do every day by ourselves, that we don't have to do a course for, that we can just do for ourselves. Where, as I said, our inevitable mistakes and failures and messes and misses in life become growth-oriented. And yes, there is a way. That's what we'll talk about today, and practice it so that you can take it with you and practice it yourself. And this way is centered on the fact that we have the power to choose how to respond to the stimuli that come at us. So there is this slide by Viktor Frankl that let's look at. Slides are not showing. Okay. Thank you so much for that. See, I mean, we mess up, right? I mean, nothing is perfect and it's okay. So, on this slide, you will see that between stimulus and response is a space. In that space is the power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So I'll give you an example of that before we go into an exercise, which will be sort of the most of, what we'll do and then conclude. So suppose you are trying to get a driver's license and you've gone to get your test done and you failed, and this is the third time you failed that test. So based on what we just discussed, what kind of response? That was a stimulus, right? I failed my test the third time. What might I be feeling? Like frustration, upset, very sad, right? I'm feeling all that. Because what am I wanting? I'm wanting some competence in driving so that I can get a driver's test. But then, if I say, no, it wasn't me, the instructor was biased. I'm a woman, he was a guy, he doesn't think women should be driving, and therefore he failed me. So I just, in a huff of ego, I treat it that way. I said, okay, that's what it was. Or I can say, well, it's me, I did it again, we blame ourselves. And then we feel, maybe driving is not for me. Maybe I'll stick to my scooty. We get the fear of driving. Maybe I'll just give it up. We give it up. Or we can say, okay, it sucks that I failed the third time, but what really happened here? The instructor told me that my 3-point maneuver was where I was not yet very good. Okay, so I got information about what I should work on. That's pretty great. The last 2 times, I didn't do well on parallel parking or on parking on a slope. And this time I did so well on that. So now I'm going to focus on my 3-point turn and get very good at it, and I'll ace my driving test. So what do you think is happening here? Depending upon how we choose, we will have growth orientation in the outcome, or we just give up, we let it go. So I want to invite you into an exercise. Let's do this exercise together, where we experience this process a little bit. And this process I call the process of self-empathy or self-connection, which, as Daji said in the morning, is really kindness in action. It's compassion towards ourselves, and it's kindness in action. So let's look at a scenario. So please read the scenario carefully and take it in. And we have all experienced something like this, so I hope this is resonant in some ways, that a friend who is very dear to you has stopped talking to you. And he or she has gone out with other friends and has not invited you. And you've tried to message them and call them, and they have not been returning your calls or messages, and you really don't know why. You don't know what's going on. So this is the scenario. So please read it again, and then close your eyes. Let's close our eyes for this exercise. It's a guided exercise. And just take this in. A dear friend of yours has stopped connecting with you, goes out with other friends, you're not part of it, and you really don't know why. So allow this whole scenario and this situation to flood your being. And then give yourself a moment to listen to the first message that comes to your mind. The first thought that comes to your mind. Is it a negative message? Notice it. Is it a judgment? What are you telling yourself? And keep your eyes closed and focus on what's going on in your mind. Maybe you hear yourself say, "That is so weird. Why is she not answering my calls? This is so rude. How mean of her to do this to me. And we've been such good friends." Or then maybe you're telling yourself, "I guess she doesn't like me anymore. What did I do to cause that?" So there is a swirl of messages in your mind. Your head may be buzzing with all kinds of negative chatter, negative judgment, and you're swaying between the past when things were so good, worrying about the future when you may no longer be friends, and just telling yourself, "This is just wrong." And now, try to move from your mind to your body. Come into your body. Just feel your body. And when you hear yourself say that she's so mean or this is so unfair, just feel in your body the feeling that comes up for you. What's coming up when you hear yourself telling yourself, this is so unfair? Am I feeling a bit angry? Yeah, maybe quite a bit angry. Notice it in your body, feel it. Where do you feel this anger in your body? Just fully feel this anger. And maybe a feeling of being upset comes up. When you're feeling upset, where do you feel it in your body? Allow yourself to fully feel it. And when you hear yourself say, I guess she doesn't like me anymore, what are you feeling? What's the feeling that comes up for you? Maybe a bit sad, or quite sad. And so confused, not understanding what's going on. So notice this in your body when you're feeling sad and confused. What does it feel like? And where in your body do you feel it? Accept these feelings. They are yours. Own them because they're true for you in this moment. They are authentic. And there is no right, there is no wrong. You are feeling what you're feeling. And in this moment, that is what is true. So fully take responsibility for these feelings. And now keeping your eyes closed, notice that you have a choice. In this very moment, you have a choice. Perhaps you can get angry, but you're feeling that anger, and lash out at your friend and give them a piece of your mind. Or you can just feel the sadness and stay silent and not say anything because you're afraid it'll make things worse. And if you don't say anything, does the feeling of sadness go away from your heart? Or maybe you can ask yourself, this is not helping. Is there something I can do inside of me that will be more helpful for me and more supportive and more life-affirming? So let's go with this third option, where you want to do something that is life-affirming for you. This is kindness in action. So you say, yes, I'm feeling upset and confused. What am I really wanting? What do I really want? What am I really longing for? In this moment, what matters to me the most? Just notice whatever comes up. What are you wanting? Maybe you're longing for some reassurance that you still matter to your friend. Maybe also you would appreciate some clarity about what's really going on without making any assumptions because you don't really know. And then deep down you feel that what you're really longing for is connection, and that this relationship matters to you. So then, having found out what you long for, notice how that makes you feel. Maybe it brings a little bit of energy, a little bit of enthusiasm to say that, yeah, is there something I can do about this? Something positive, without blaming my friend or myself, without losing self-respect or dignity. What can I do about it? So of course, again, there is choice. I could do nothing. But we saw earlier, if I do nothing, my feelings don't go away. Or I can pour my heart out to another friend. Just cry or just pour my heart out. Again, without blaming. Just share your sadness. Or perhaps that'll give you some courage to send your friend a WhatsApp message and say that I know we've been silent, haven't connected for a while. You may be busy. There's something on my mind that I'd really like to talk about with you. Could we meet for some coffee after college today and talk about it? Notice that in this energy, there is no blame. You're just stating what is real for you in this moment. You're just stating your truth. And often when we do this, it reaches out to the other person and they may respond and say, oh yeah, I've been working on that project and I've had all these other commitments and haven't had time to connect. Let's chat after college. And then you can take it forward. But it could also be that your friend says, no, I don't want to meet. And then what can you do? Often we feel that what I'm needing is from that particular person, in that particular way, in that particular time. And that can lead to a lot of stress, a lot of sadness, a lot of trouble for us. So if you get a no, you again have choice. You could do several things. You could notice what you're feeling. Oh, I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling disappointed. And then you could recognize that maybe in this moment there is something else that matters more to my friend than our friendship. And rather than going into a loop and saying, oh, she doesn't like me, we'll never be friends again, you just stay with that and say, okay, right now, she's needing something else that's more important for her. And I'll give her space. I'm willing to do that. At the same time, you can feel that ache in your heart without any self-blame or self-judgment that I'm terrible. No, just sit with it. So now deep down, you have connected with your real need, and that is companionship and generosity in companionship, not a demanding kind of companionship. And this can go a long way in leading to integration and happiness and growth. So this was an experiment. And I would love for you to later write down in your journal what you felt while going through it. But let us look at the template of what we just did, what you just did, so that you can carry it with you going forward. So you faced a difficult situation and you took a pause. So the first thing you did was paused. And then you tuned into your inner field with your full attention. Initially, a lot of negative messages came up, judgments came up, evaluations came up. You let them come up without censoring them. And then you moved from your thinking to your feeling, to your body and your heart, and took full responsibility for what you're feeling, for the feelings that came up. Again, without any self-blame, without any shame, because this was real for you. It was authentic. And then these feelings were like the fire, like the smoke that led you to the fire of your needs, what you really wanted in the moment, what was most important to you, what mattered to you the most. And that was this companionship, and companionship with generosity. And then you also realized that you had a choice in how to respond, and that there are many ways of meeting your needs for companionship. If not with this friend right now, maybe with another friend. Maybe you yourself treat yourself to something nice and be your own good friend for a little while. So in closing, I just want to say that when we practice this kind of kindness in action, this practice of self-connection and self-empathy, we empower ourselves. We empower ourselves with energies that open up possibilities. They take us from disconnecting self-judgment to a compassionate connection with what is real for me now, what is authentic for me in this moment, what is alive in me. We come in touch with the life force that is flowing through me. And then we can align our choices much more with what really matters to me. This can stabilize us and make us lighter, but it can also lead to more harmonious relationships because we don't insist, we don't bring demanding energy. We know how to work with ourselves, clear ourselves up, and bring a clear energy to our relationships. And if you wish to learn more about this process, I was told time is up and maybe I've exceeded my time. You will have an opportunity over the next 2 days to work with Liz Kingsnorth, who's offering 3 workshops on heartful communication. This is this life-affirming way of communicating with myself and others that allows us all to become better and better versions of ourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Professor Tiwari. That was really moving. The next session, I assure you, is captivating to say the least. Allow me to introduce to you a unique concept of Heartfulness Institute called Brighter Minds. Brighter Minds is a brain training program which helps in enhancing cognitive capabilities like focus, observation, comprehension, intuition, empathy, and memory. The program is based on the science of neuroplasticity and boosts one's confidence and also nurtures a very positive mindset. I would like to invite the youth of Brighter Minds who have been born and raised in the heartfulness environment. They will be sharing some technique. Hello? They will be sharing certain techniques and exercises with you, and I urge you all to try them. Please welcome on stage Nishalya Vijay Kumar, Uma Parekh, Gunjan Kanoji, Atharv Gaikwad, Gayatri Vaidya, Roshni, and Kanta. A big round of applause for our youth here.
So, good afternoon, guys. I'm Kanta from Brighter Minds team, here today before you. So, based on neuroscience, Brighter Minds is a cognitive training educational initiative designed to accelerate functioning of our mind for a lifetime learning. Brighter Minds is present across the globe with trained cognitive coaches. I would now invite Nishalya and Atharv to tell you more about it.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. It's your line.
तुम्हारा line है.
अरे तुम्हारा line है.
क्या कर रहे हो?
Okay, wait. How are hi. We are. I'm Atharv.
Good afternoon to one and all. My name is Nishalya and I'm here with my friend Atharv. This is how we would have been before starting the Brighter Minds program. We had stage fear and we were anxious.
You know, basically, Brighter Minds is about developing and rewiring our cognizance, cognitive abilities that we already have.
Brighter Minds gives us the opportunity to dig deeper within ourselves and find our true potential. By rewiring our brain, we develop self-confidence, emotional resilience, coordination, focus, and intuitive abilities.
Isn't that great? You can literally rewire yourself. Doesn't that sound like a second chance to you?
And now we're going to perform some brain exercises. I invite my friends to show you these. For the first exercise, you will need your left hand to do an upward motion above your head. And your right hand to do a circular motion around your stomach. Now let's do it together. Are you guys getting it? Okay. For the next one, we'd request you all to stand up. Great. This exercise is called Rabbit and Rabbit. Let's have a 2 in your index finger and your middle finger. And in your other hand, form a 2 with your middle finger and your ring finger. Now let's alternate between them. Nice, nice. Are you guys getting it? Let's alternate again and again. So 2, 2 from index to middle to ring. That was very easy, right? Now we're going to present something that may look like magic, but trust me, it's not. It's backed by neuroscientific researchers. Our mind is a very capable device, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I invite Kapil and Roshni and Uma to perform these activities.
Now, I request everybody to sit down. First up, we have Kapil. I'd like 2 volunteers to come up. Any 2. 2 volunteers. All right. Thank you very much, the both of you. The first up, we'd like you to check the blindfolds. Yeah, they have to check. You can tighten your eyes, turn your eyes around, look around, and see if you can see through the blindfold. Can you see anything through the blindfolds? Open your eyes. Can you look up? Can you hear anything? Oh, sorry. Can you see anything?
No.
Can you?
No.
All right. Now we know that the blindfolds are right. Now he's going to shuffle the cube and Kapil is going to blindfold himself. He has no idea what the shuffle cube is going to look like, right? All right, now he's going to be tying the blindfold around Uma. So we all know that she can't see anything through it, right? There is absolutely no hint about what she's going to have to guess. Now I'd like 1 more volunteer to come up and come with an object. And we're going to place this object on the table. 1 more volunteer. You can give the cube to him and he'll start solving it. He has no idea what the cube looks like and he is trying to shuffle the cube blindfolded. Now, I'd like you to come forward and put an object on the table. Any object on you, put it on the table, and she is going to try to guess what the object is. She can't see it and she can't touch it. Okay, the object is in front of you. So she can't see it, she can't touch it. Now the question is, how is she able to guess what the object is, right? The answer is, Brighter Minds has enhanced her sense of hearing and smell. And only through these 2 senses is she able to guess what this object in front of her is. Kapil has solved the cube. He's done it without knowing what the cube looks like, blindfolded. Thank you, Kapil.
Bag. Is it a black color thing?
She's asking if it's a black color thing. Audience? Yes.
Is it a bag or something? No. It has got squares. It's more of a square thing. It's a box kind of a thing. Speaker.
Speaker. So she thinks it's a box-like speaker which is black. Remove the blindfold. Okay. How close were you? She was quite close, isn't that right? She did not touch it, nor did she see it beforehand, and she got that it's black and that it's a speaker. All right, thank you everyone. Thank you for coming on stage. Now I'd like to call upon Kantati, and she is going to be giving you more information about this.
So guys, if you want to know the science behind it, please come to Satellite 4. We have a breakout session at 2:30. So you can join us and learn more about it. Thank you. Satellite 4 is just behind where the boys are sitting. So you can come at 2:30 and know the science behind it. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So, wasn't they amazing, all of you? Yes? Okay. So now lots of announcements here before we all part for lunch. I would request Akshatiya to...
All right. A few instructions, so please pay attention. While we will be breaking for lunch, which is at the main dining hall and the North Canteen, please be back by 2:30. Now at 2:30, we have two options for you. There will be a session at the meditation hall. This one is on Heartful Campus by Dr. Nivedita Shreyans and Mr. Ramesh Krishnan. It will be followed by a talk on a better you for better India with Mr. J.D. Lakshmi Narayan. So for these two talks, if you'd like to, listen in on this session, please come back to the main meditation hall. Simultaneously from 2:30 to 4, we also have another session which is MGIEP Seek with Shane and Dr. Shobhita Rao, which will be in the conference hall. So please have your lunch, be back by 2:30 for the afternoon session.
So there is a special instruction, please stay back. The QR code is going to be on now, finally, with the Wi-Fi. So those students who are here, they are very lucky and their attendance will be covered for this session. Because now you'll be doing your checking out time in the first session. So the QR code is going to be on now, so you all can start scanning in some time. That is one information, so please stay back. Secondly, the faculty members are requested, all the faculty members, to join for a networking dinner today evening at 7 p.m. in the conference hall at my left side. Okay, all the faculty members. How many faculty members are here? Can you raise up your hands? Faculty members? Teachers? 1, 2, okay. All the teachers? Can you hear me? Yes? So for all of you, there is a networking dinner organized at the left side in the conference hall. Okay? 7 p.m. sharp. Right? That is for the evening. So the QR code is on for the session 1 first day. Check-in time हमने सब ले लिया है. Check-out time for the first session. This all attendance is going to be calculated for your hours which we have promised you for AICT certification. So those students who are not attending the sessions, going around in the campus, please don't complain that you are not getting the certificate. I am very clear. Those students who are not sitting for the sessions, they are not getting the certificate because